Hi, welcome back. In this video, I'm going to show you how to configure Global Protect on Palo Alto Firewall. Firewall version I'm using is 8.1 Global Protect. It's an application that the firewall provides to access the internal networks by the end users remotely in a secure way by providing a VPN service. So if a user wants to connect remotely to the office and get access to the internal resources, so the user can get access to the office network in a secured way through the VPN tunnel by the Global Protect. To enable the Global Protect on Palo Alto Firewall, we need four things. First, we have to create a tunnel interface which would act as a bridge between the end user device and the Palo Alto Firewall. And the second is a DHCP service to the remote users pool. So we have to provide DHCP service to the with your network or a subnet to the remote users, that all the users will be connecting remotely using the Global Protect. Third is portal. Portal is where you will configure and provide the user interface to the end user to connect to the Global Protect. For example, when user tries to access to the firewall and get authenticated to the Global Protect, user will be provided with a display which can have a message or a kind of, let's say, a message, and the message can be customized. Like we can provide custom messages, user should be seeing them in order to get authenticated. So for like, you can provide what kind of service the user will have and how he can use that service to get access to the network using Global Protect, and so. That's where the portal comes in place, and you can create custom portals for the users. And the next is gateway. Gateway would provide routing between the remote networks and the internal networks, and also would provide services like security policies and other security application services to apply the restrictions on the remote users or the remote networks. So let's start and configure the Global Protect. Now I have logged into my firewall. Let's go to network, select tunnel, add a new tunnel interface. I'm using 10, and add a virtual router default, and select a security zone. So I have configured a couple of security zones, but I'm going to use VPN trust security zone for this one, and I'm not going to apply any IP address or any other function, any other or any other management profile. The reason is I'm not going to provide any access to this interface from the external networks, so I'm just using this interface as a tunnel bridge. So now let's go to Global Protect portals, click add, select the name, so now I have given the name, and let's select the interface. The interface you are going to select would be the gateway interface, that is the interface facing to the WAN, and where the Global Protect will be applied. Let's go to authentication, and now let's select the SSL service profile. I do not have any SSL profiles, so let's create one. So let's add a certificate. I do not have any certificates, so I will generate one now. You can write anything on the certificate name, and you can customize that later on, but when it comes to the common name, it should be either only two things. One is IP address of the WAN IP, the interface that you're applying the Global Protect, or the fully qualified domain. I do not have fully qualified domain name, so I'm going to use my IP address. So this is my WAN IP address I'm using, and I'm signing it as CA. As it is a local, it doesn't matter. So these are the hashing. This is the method, encryption method, and this is the size of the hashing, and this is the type of hash. I'm using 256. That should be good. You can go to like 384 or 512 SHA. This would provide more security depth, but as well as the weight on the packet. And you can add certificate attributes just like country, state, and all the other stuff, but I'm going to only add two things. One is country, United States, state, and now click generate. It's generated, and this is the minimum version of the certificate, and you can go up to the max. It goes. So yeah, so we have created certificate profile, and next thing is we have to create client authentication method. This is meant to say the global protect what kind of OS the client should be using and what kind of authentication profile the firewall should be using to provide the authentication and authorization, and what are the labels and the message. So let's go and add one. So I am selecting any OS, and the authentication profile for now I am using local, but you can also add radius or LDAP service, and I'll be showing you in future video about how to add the LDAP service on the Palo Alto firewall and provide it to the other services inside the Palo Alto firewall, just like especially on the global protect, because most of the users you connect to the global protect will authenticate using the network ID and password that basically firewall should get them from the LDAP service. So let's click OK, and we have provided the authentication profile and all the settings. Let's go to agent, add an agent. For client certificate, none. You can select any of these, local or SCEP, but I'm not going to select anything. This is the name. Go to users. I'm providing all the users to the access. Internal, I'm not going to provide any specific internal gateways, but the meaning of internal gateways is to provide access to provide a gateway to the remote users that they can be pointed and get access to the internal resources like internal networks, specific internal networks. And let's go to external, and this is where you have to mandatorily apply that, because external gateway would provide the gateway service to the remote users, and that would provide routing service for the external users to the internal networks. So the name, you can type any name for this, but when it comes to the address, you have to mention the the interface IP address. So this should be the external WAN IP address where the global protect will be applied, and the source region and the priority is also important, is mandatory. So I'm selecting any, but you can use the subnets that are reserved, or you can also go through the countries and select them that the users can connect through these regions, but I'm now selecting any. So now select OK. So I have provided external gateway with the priority 1 with any resource or source, and the applications, this is the mode of application settings when the user downloads and uses the app, but you can modify them. I'm going to change this to on-demand manual user initiation. Coming to data collection, by default it will collect HIP data, but if you want to collect the more other information, then you can use this categories and add them. But in general, this is more used for the compliance, for the logging and other stuff. But for now, let's click OK. And I have provided agent, the clientless VPN and the satellite. We are not going to use them. The satellite would provide a more remote, advanced level access remotely, but I'm not going to configure that and show you because I do not have enough hardware to show you. So clientless VPN in general with the DMZ, with the DNS proxy settings and all this stuff, I do not have any that kind of environment set up now, so I'm not going to use that. So in general and the basic that you need in order to configure the GP would be general, authentication and agent. Click OK. So the portal got configured. Now we have everything set up on the portal. Let's go to gateways. Let's give a name. So let's select the interface. As I said, we need the WAN interface, is Ethernet 1. No IP address. If you have DHCP service, you don't have to use the IP address, but if in case you have a static IP, you can select the IP, but I'm not going to select. It is not going to impact me. Authentication, let's select the SSL service profile. The process would be similar to the portal, but the way the service behaves is different. Authentication profile local, and the username, password, and the display message are this. Click OK, and let's select agent. And over here we have to enable tunnel mode in order to create a tunnel between the remote user and the firewall. And let's leave everything alike. I am not going to enable IPsec because if I enable IPsec, the firewall would send all the routing information to this tunnel to the user, which I don't want that to happen, so I'm disabling the IPsec. And timeout settings, I'm using the default. Client IP pool, yeah, this is an important one. So when coming to assign IPs to the IP pool to the remote users, this is where you will be adding them. So you can click add and add the pool that you want the remote users should receive. So for example, I'm going to use the IP pool between 20.20.20.5 to 10. These are the 5 IP addresses that I would like to provide the remote users, and the DHCP server that is enabled on this subnet will take care of that and provide DHCP service to the remote users. And let's go to client settings, add, I have given a name which is mandatory. Go to users, any IP pool, you don't have to do them. And yeah, so over here IP pools is meant for providing additional firewall routing table information, but I'm not sure how in detail about this option clearly, but in future video I will definitely cover this up. I will explain you. And the split tunnel is the feature or the service that's provided on the Global Protect application, which is installed on the end user laptop or PC, which will enable the traffic to be split. When I said split, for example, let's take an application like ServiceNow. So ServiceNow is a platform that the organization would use internally to provide service desk operations or any kind of request ticketing system. So if the user uses ServiceNow application, then that request and that traffic would be routed through the tunnel interface. And if the user is browsing youtube.com or google.com, then that would be routed through the regular interface through the home network. Yeah, by this what it saves is the traffic bandwidth. Not all the traffic is routed into the network and then going out. Only the traffic that is needed will be going into the network and routed. And if there is unwanted traffic, that will be routed through the personal network, the home network or the public network. So that's the use of the split tunnel. Let's click OK. Let's see if I have missed anything. So network services, yeah, so over network services, this will provide you the you can enter the primary DNS, the DNS that the user should be configured when they connect to the Global Protect, and the secondary DNS and primary WIN, etc. But these I don't configure them because I have already configured them on the DHCP server itself. So when they get the IP address the interface will be automatically configured with all these settings. When coming to video traffic, if you are using a youtube.com or something like that, and if you select the applications, then the traffic would be filtered on the tunnel and apply some access policies to restrict the traffic. And the HIP notification, I did not use this service, so I'm not sure, and click OK. So I have created tunnel interface. Then I have provided the HCP service on the internal network that I want to that I'm going to use the part of it to the global protect users. And I have also configured portal, and I have also configured gateway. So all the 4 things that we need are being configured, and let's commit the firewall and wait for it. Okay, so the commit was successful, but the warning, you can neglect that because I'm not using any IPv6. So let's go to a VM that I will be trying to access the global protect. I'm going to access my firewall from here. So this is the IP address, this is the gateway external IP address of the firewall, and I click enter. Okay, I have all I need. So it gave me the username and password prompt, and I have to log in to. Now I have successfully logged in, and I'm going to download the 64-bit global protect agent. And I have already installed the GP on my VM, so let me go over there, go to settings, okay, let me delete this, delete. So go over here and add the global protect address. Okay, so now I have added that, and let's close it. Connect. So when I tried to connect, it gave me a message saying the certificate is not signed by the trusted CA. Would you like to proceed or not? This is just a show message, and you can continue. And when you say continue, you will be prompted with the again username and password. When I type them and enter, it says connect. Okay, so it is saying GP external gateway, the server certificate is invalid. So let me go back to the firewall and see what I have missed. Okay, over here let me verify whether I have done everything correct or not. The portal agent, okay, oh yeah, so over here I did not add the trusted CA, which is why you are getting that error, and the agent is not accepting that. So let's commit it. So when the agent tries to authenticate, when tries to talk to the server, which is firewall, then when you add this option that the certificate we provided is this trusted certificate, the server or the firewall say to the agent saying, hey, the certificate is trusted and you can proceed further. So now let me try again. Okay, if you see now it's connected, and let's verify the IP address. Go to connections, and the external gateway tunnel, yes. Authentication, yes. And this is the IP address I have received. If you remember, I have given the pool of 20.20.20.5 to 10, so I would receive from 5 to 10 any IP address. So yeah, so I got this, and the gateway external gateway IP is this, and I did not provide internal gateway. So no, actually let me show you the internal gateway. Okay, you see, it did not have any gateway because I did not provide any internal gateway, so it's taking by default any gateway, and which is okay for now. But as I said, in future I would be showing you how to configure the gateways and all this stuff in detail. So I'm going to test the connection internally, whether I have access to internal network or not. So I have a server that is running now on 20.20.4, and let's do a SSH connection. So when I did that, I got a login prompt, which means I have access to that, and let me log into that server. All right, I am into that server. See, I can access that and I can do anything. This is the simple way that you can configure GP on Palo Alto firewall and use it. So for now, if your user wants to disconnect, just click disconnect and it disconnects. This is the way how we can configure the global protect on Palo Alto firewall. Thank you for watching. See you next time. Take care. Bye bye.